Hello everyone, how are you? Welcome back again. We are very excited to have for you one of the most esteemed and recognized guests in legal entrepreneurship, all the way from Spain for today's show, Mr. Marti Manent. Hello, Professor.
Hi, how are you?
Welcome, hi sir. Welcome to Lexavant Colloquium. I hope I have pronounced your name right. It is really an honor to listen to you today. I am Chaitanya, co-founder of this Lexamo LLP and this initiative. Professor, our team have been researching upon you since past 2 weeks and we were amazed by your pioneering work. I will briefly tell you how we are going to do this today. We have on call my dear friend Taresh and colleague. He will be having the conversation with you for this interview, and I will be a silent audience during the course of this interview.
Great.
Over to you, Taresh.
Thank you so much for that, Chaitanya. Namaste and buenos dias, sir. It is truly a privilege to have you here today and converse with you on behalf of Lexavant. I'm very sure that our audience, the young entrepreneurs, will have a very enriching experience today. We are very excited to hear about you, especially in light of the topic that we are talking about today, which is quite interesting as we talk about the intersection of legal education, legal domain with technology, and how it's going to look like in the present, how was it in the past, and how it would be subsequently in the future. So without further ado, let's begin with our conversation, sir. Professor, you are seen as a pioneer of legal entrepreneurship, especially in the domain of legal technology. However, it might interest our viewers to know that you are a professor in a law school as well, where you teach legal entrepreneurship. Conventionally, if you look at it, legal entrepreneurship and being a professor do not go hand in hand, speaking conventionally, of course. But our viewers would love to hear the story, the origin story of elAbogado, and how much of your teaching still continues to inspire it today.
Okay, great. I dedicate like probably the 90% of my time in my projects, in my companies. And I use the 10% of my time to side projects. And one is being professor at the law school. And what inspired me to continue being a professor and this kind of project is because they asked me that to construct the program that I would like to attend. And when a business school asks you as a lawyer that, okay, you can design the program whatever you want, and I say, okay, that could be very interesting. I have been in a large relation with that business school, and they understand that my approach to the teaching is very practical. It's not like the theoretical approach; it's like the practical approach. And probably in my classes and also the program that I coordinate and director, we have a very direct approach. What we don't want to teach is what you are never going to apply. And probably we would say something that never visit a lawyer or just forget these things. And that surprised a lot. But when you are in the entrepreneur world, you must probably change your mindset. And that is what we really try to teach to our students.
Yeah, that perfectly makes sense. That's very fascinating to know. And I'm very sure that all the young entrepreneurs that are watching this are inspired by it and, have that threshold of idea of what it takes to build the largest law firm directory in Spain. So on that note, it is I'd like to tell the viewers that it is also extremely interesting to know that elAbogado is not the only entrepreneurship venture that you have undertaken. You have also brought to glory this new venture of yours that is Derecho, right?
Derecho.com, yeah.
Derecho. Oh, sure. Yeah. Sorry,
in Spanish. No, sorry. In Spanish, Derecho means law. It's like law.com. We have the domain name in Spanish that it's Derecho.com.
Okay, Derecho. Okay, perfect. That's really nice to know. So, in this background, can we please know the story of El Derecho as well? And what was your inspiration to hem this amazing project? And how does it differentiate with your previous project?
Okay. I come from a family that my grandpa was an entrepreneur. He was a very poor guy, and he just succeeded creating his own commercial business. And that inspired me, that I love business. Then I decide, okay, what can I attend to the school? And after doing my, like when I need to jump to the university, I didn't really know what to do. That was the real thing. And I decided, okay, if I go to the business university, business, you don't need to learn business, because you can do business if you like business. And I decided to attend the law school, because I said, okay, I think that law always could help me. And after all, that makes sense. But because one of the things that I like is justice. I think that all around the world there is a lot of injustice, and I think that if I could make projects like business projects that and also can inspire more justice to the world, that could make sense. And after attending to the university, I decided, okay, I must now make practice. And at that moment, I started working in what it was Arthur Andersen Legal. Nowadays, Arthur Andersen didn't exist, but it was the largest law firm in Spain. Oh. But I also have a side project that was starting, that was my first web page. That was at the end in the last century. And it was funny because I was earning more money with my side project that was a web page with that also practicing in law. And at some point, after 2 years of being learning a lot in a big law firm, I decided, okay, that's my moment to just jump to my own business. And that was the decision, because we were making more money. Our vision here was try to help people to solve their legal problems in a very easy and cheap way. That was our mantra. It's like, okay, we will try to help you in a very easy way and in a very affordable way. And here what we used to do is ask my mother, okay, sit in front of my laptop and try to do what we have designed. And if she can do it, that makes sense. If she has, okay, I don't know what to do here, I don't know what, that was, okay, I think that we need to improve. That was the first vision of Derecho.com. After 20 years, we have almost 500,000 of customers, and that is a large number. Like almost 500,000 customers that pay us is wow, that's amazing. And here is like, that is interesting, because once that you have created your project, and you have the first, the second, the third customer, now start the hard things and making your business grow. That seems very easy, attracting the first customer. That it's very difficult, but what is more difficult is succeed the second, the third, and the fourth year and growing.
Very well said, sir. I think I really resonated with 2 points of yours over there, that, you know, your lived experiences really shape you as a human being. We all go with the flow. We don't know what we are doing, but it's your lived experiences that shape you. And that's really, really fascinating and inspiring to know. And second of all, your parents are your biggest supporters and your biggest lab rats. So I totally agree with that. So, but like coming back to the lived experiences, and, you know, what you very rightly pointed out, sustenance of business, rather, you know, after incepting the business. So in this background, what is one cardinal rule or one cardinal advice that you give your students, or you give someone who is seeking your help in legal entrepreneurship, which you think is extremely important for sustaining a tech legal entrepreneurship? Could you please share that with us?
Yeah. The first thing is that probably a lot of lawyers, when they end, as me, the university, we probably never have seen a balance sheet, and never we have checked what is an incoming and revenue and all of these things. And I think that it's very, very important to understand that if you have an office, you have a business, you need to pay bills. That is the first thing. And I try to explain or teach to my students how much they want to earn. Okay, that's my question in one class. Okay, how much do you want to earn each month? They say whatever. Okay, now you must add your costs. For example, office costs, laptop costs, connection costs, whatever. Put that. Now you add taxes. And that is the number that you need to generate each month. Then what does it mean? That if you want to earn this amount of money, you must generate probably that amount of business. And what first do you need to do? Probably is not learning more law. What you need to learn is marketing, commercial. That is one very important thing that at the beginning we need to understand as an entrepreneur, because with entrepreneurs, we love our project. Wow, I love that idea. But okay, we have created the MVP, the minimum viable product. What the people that don't understand what is it, is like the first version of the product that makes sense, that you can sell. And once that you have that, you have done probably nothing, because nobody have bought, nobody have paid for it. And now start the most complicated part, that try to find someone that pays for it. And that is for me, is like, that is a very hard thing. And that is a very strong commitment for an entrepreneur that must go to the office or wherever and try each day to be a little more better and reach more customers. And I think that always there is a big down of emotions or a commitment after some month from your project, because it's very hard to start a project. I really ask you that if you search for a picture of Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, at the beginning, you just probably search on Google Jeff Bezos and his first office, you're going to see the first office of Jeff Bezos. And that it's not a cool office. It's like a very cheap office. And you see, okay, that guy is a freaky. And that is the beginning of an entrepreneur, that it's very hard. We always see the entrepreneurs like with the biggest stars. But at the beginning, that's not true. We need to work very, very hard.
For sure, sir. For sure, sir. I think you gave some great points for our viewers to ponder upon, how everything, especially in the startup, in entrepreneurship, is not a shortcut. You have to have patience and perseverance. You have to have perspectives, and I think it's really, really nice to hear about this. I'm very sure that our audience will learn a lot from this. So coming on to that, because you talked about how a different perspective, especially when you try to seek funding, etc., from investors, is needed. I'd like to pose this question to you. In 2020, as of today, if you were to start a new legal startup, what will your startup be? What is the one problem that you'd like to solve, and one problem that you'd like to caveat of your own firm? Because, if you would have to have your practical experience of starting two successful companies, especially in the context that cryptocurrency, AI, etc., have been delving so much in the recent past, and they are here to stay.
Okay, first thing, I will start at the end of your question, that, okay, we need to understand that artificial intelligence, cryptocurrencies, or crypto, whatever, that it's only technology. And that it's not the end product. We must understand that probably we can use this technology, and that technology could be like that video conference, or like an online teaching. That it's technology, that it's not the end of the road. Then we need to understand that a lot of moments we will say, okay, I'm going to create a new startup about artificial intelligence, whatever, and that sounds very, very nice. But I think that these words are empty, probably, because we are talking about, this is like the end technology, and what we need to create is a solution. And nowadays, under my point of view, the problem is that I don't have time. That's my limited resource, that I don't have time. I have a lot of ideas, and one of the most interesting things could be, for example, generating documents as a service, not as selling documents. Under my vision, the documents that you will try to sell, that you will never sell documents. You will sell the service to create the document or to stretch for a very little amount. And probably that could be a good idea. It's like, okay, I want just to get divorced, and I need to prepare a document, and I provide the service to generate the document that you need to sign with your ex-partner, whatever, okay? And what you pay, probably only a little amount to generate the document. And I think that if you have the vision that, okay, I will get paid for the service, not for the documents, not for the content, I think that it's a correct approach nowadays. Why? Because the people that have a legal problem, they want a solution. They don't want a document. And a lot of times the we the lawyers say, okay, they would like that document, then that. No, they want the solution. They don't ask for a document. They want to just get divorced, and that's it. No, but you need to talk. No, you must understand that. And I think that the lawyer that understand that he's providing a solution, not a document, probably would have a good idea. Then another interesting thing is that there are a lot of companies all around the world in the legal tech areas that you can just bring to your country. You can just check for a good, successful project in another country, and you just can try to bring to your country, because one of the advantage and also the disadvantage of the legal tech world is that normally there is not like a company that could provide services all around the world. Could be like the DocuSign or these companies that provide like a very transversal solution. But I think that 80 to 70% of the legal tech companies will be local companies. That is what I have seen. Then I have seen a lot of interesting projects that can make sense, for example, in India or in Spain or whatever, that come from the United States. And you just, it's like what it's called like a copy-paste company.
True, sir. Divided by borders, united by legal problems. But yes, sir, I think to all the young prospective entrepreneurs watching this, I think like they should really hit the home with this advice. Keep a perspective, keep a sense of grounded realities and try to provide a solution rather than pose another problem to your aggrieved client.
And also when you must understand that when you start a project nowadays, the metrics, the analytics, the numbers are very important. And the companies that succeed, they are like a data-driven companies. What that means is that they look for what the customer, the clients want. They provide the service that the customer want, not the idea that the entrepreneur has. Because we as an entrepreneur, we have a crazy ideas. And we just bring the first product or service and then try to imagine or try to understand if the people want this product. If they don't buy this product, we have made a mistake. Not that the public doesn't understand. The problem is that we make a mistake. They try to understand as soon as possible with metric, with Google Analytics or wherever, to try to understand when the users don't buy the product, when the users just drop off, when the users leave your app or whatever. And I think that one of the key important things that an entrepreneur nowadays must have is like a dashboard of metrics, a dashboard of numbers. I'm addicted to my dashboard, to my graphs. I have made the commitment to just look the dashboards once per hour, because I have a real-time numbers. Then I get crazy. Okay, let's see what's going on. But then I cannot work. Then I have made the commitment that I can only watch the numbers once per hour. That because all the projects must be data-driven projects.
Yeah, for sure, sir. I think keeping a track of yourself and as an extension, your organization being organized, I think that's one of the most prominent things that you can do as an entrepreneur. Perfectly put, sir. Thank you so much for that.
Sure.
Okay, sir. Coming from an honest point of view, coming from personal point of view, when I was reading about you, I was honestly flabbergasted to know that how many roles and positions you have juggled, and you continue to juggle even today. And very, very successfully, if I might humbly add. You teach
as an entrepreneur, the first day you can decide your title, and I can be the CEO, I can be like the biggest manager office or wherever. And that's, being honest, I create my own titles, and just create your titles because it's your company, do whatever. But at the beginning, as an entrepreneur, you are an orchestra man. You do all the things. And I think that one interesting thing is that when you start the project, probably you will do the 80 or the 90% of the things, just taking calls, preparing the envelopes to send whatever, paying the bills, checking the tax, deciding what kind of connection or mobile phone are you going to use, and installing whenever, dealing with your provider. And that is the things that you as an entrepreneur, you will do. You cannot do as an entrepreneur, you have a big team at the beginning. You can do once that you have created some number of companies as successful companies because you can just build your team. But at the beginning, you are an orchestra man and you do a lot of things. Then I think that it's very interesting that you as an entrepreneur must understand numbers. As I mentioned before, like a balance sheet, you as an entrepreneur must have some legal background to understand what is a cap table or what is a shareholder agreement. And also, if you are in a legal tech sector, you must know technology. You cannot jump inside the legal tech sector. Instead, you like a little bit of technology because you are going to create a company that will compete with another companies that are using technology. And if you don't use the correct technology, you are making big mistakes. And that is one of the things that you can use as your advantage, using the correct technology. Then I have a lot of roles, but that make part of the road as an entrepreneur because not always you are successful. We when we have 2 years our company, we were almost bankruptcy because we don't have enough customers. And it was a very hard time. And after 2 years, we start making money. But the first 2 years were very, very hard because it's like at the beginning when you raise some money, you make a lot of mistakes because you were from point zero that you don't have money, then you have a lot of money that someone has invested in your company, and you start spending this money without being very clever. And that it's normal. Because if you have never spent a lot of money, that's normal to make mistakes and spend money in a places that you don't really need. And once that you learn that, that starts the hard road to the successful of the company.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, for sure. And I'd like to point out to my audience that, eventually what juggling all of this makes you is a professor at one of the most prestigious law schools, a CEO of 2 companies, a legal advisor to numerous law firms, numerous companies, and being associated with GDPR, etc., etc. The list will go on. It will probably take half of the time of the interview, but that's really nice to know that how you have managed to juggle it, how you have not only used the practical resources that you have, but also, your psychological motivation to go forward. That's really, really nice and really inspiring to hear. So,
yeah, here, what I would say is just, there is no a successful clue that just you push one button and you get it. No, my recommendation is be curious, read a lot. If you cannot read, listen podcasts or listen audiobooks, and be very curious because there are a list of the most interesting books for management or execution or startup that you can read and you learn a lot. As an entrepreneur, you must always be learning, and that is probably one of the most interesting recommendation is just try to learn a little bit every day because you are not going to success from the night to the day. No, it's like a long road.
For sure, for sure. I think you put it perfectly. You just cannot pigeonhole it. So now coming on to the intersection of law and technology that we've been talking about. We have talked about its pros, how it's going to look in the future. However, it's pretty clear, as you see in the contemporary times, that it's not free from controversies. We have already seen how Ross, the AI, had entered the legal domain and sparked these extremist conversations regarding, its usage in the legal ecosystem, etc., etc. So in this context, do you think artificial intelligence and as its ally, legal technology, is going to totally disrupt the existence of traditional lawyer practice as we know it? And if it would, to what extent would it look like?
Yeah, we must understand in which context we are. We are at the beginning of the second decade of this century. We are in the 20s, and that it's very difficult to say because we used to understand the 20s from the last century, but now we are in the 20s of the 21st century, and now we are in the beginning of the 20s. And my vision is that by the end of this decade, probably a very relevant part of the work that nowadays are doing lawyers will be done by technology. And when I say by technology, we can, for example, say that can be done or will be done by software or solutions that are based in artificial intelligence. And each one of you that want to read or know more about this, there is a company that is developing artificial intelligence for free, like an open source, that this summer have released the third version of his project that to understand it. The project is, they have read more than 170 billion documents. We'll repeat, 170 billion documents. It's a huge number of documents. And no person can read this amount of information. But plus, that machine remembers this information. No human being can remember this information. And the software, you can ask a question and that software probably will get the answer. And what it's crazy is that you can ask, for example, that I want a web page with 3 buttons, one in blue, one in yellow, and one in red. And the machine answers you the code that if you put that code in a laptop or whatever, generate a web page. Then if you can ask for that kind of information, what kind of stupid questions of legal problems that machine can answer? A lot. Here, you can be in 2 sides. I would say that you can be in the side that you see opportunities, or in the side that you see that it's a big problem for you. Under my point of view, where we are at the beginning of the 20s, and by the end of this decade, more of the big part of the work that they are not added value, but nowadays are done by lawyers, like artisans. Probably my point of view is that a lot of lawyers work like an artisan, that it's like the old way to provide service. And here we must see, for example, the fashion industry. The fashion industry, like probably 50 years ago, you go to a shop where they like make the numbers and they construct your clothes. Now you go to a shop that you take and see if that fits to you. Exactly, now, yes, I understand that the legal service is going to go in that direction. And you can see, for example, this company like Derecho.com or LegalZoom or Rocket Lawyer, and there are a big number of companies that we have hundreds of thousands of customers that we are providing like this kind of Zara's or big fashion companies. Yeah. And that is my vision of what is going to be the legal industry.
Exactly, sir. I totally agree with your point, and I think our audience will agree that coexistence is the future. You can love it, you can hate it, but you for sure cannot ignore it.
Yeah, and what I will add here is that the legal industry can generate or can create its own future, but be very realistic. If don't do that, there will come entrepreneurs from outside the legal sector that will create these kind of companies. And that it's already happening, that legal tech companies are created but from no lawyers. And yes, if lawyers don't move fast and create the legal tech companies, entrepreneurs from outside the legal sector will create these kind of companies. Because we must understand that we are an industry, and the industry, if it's interesting, the investors will come, and our industry is very, very interesting.
That's very insightful, sir. I think how you have dropped in, in how you have implicitly said that lawyers are going more towards a corporate executive fashion, and more of non-legal people are also entering the legal domain. We have to keep up with the times. So it is in that context that I'd like to bring forth my next question, that if, like we talked about, if you were to start a startup to this a legal startup today, what would that be? But what do you think would be the most pronounced issues? You talked about business and the service not being in separate headers, right? But what do you think is the biggest problem that a legal startup would today face? And how should they devise their A, short-term plans, and B, long-term plans to make sure that every risk that they face is somewhat minimized?
Yeah, I think that the most key resource, or the element more relevant for the success of a project is execution. It's not the idea, it's not funding. Probably a lot of people would say, oh, but the problem is funding. Not really, not really. A lot of companies just start with no money, and that is why they are very successful, because they don't eat from money from third parties. They just generate cash. Then, under my point of view, the big difference is execution. And from that point, if you just read some of the greatest execution books and you read a lot about execution, you will learn a lot. And for me, it's like that is the most difficult part, because at the beginning, you need to decide what to do, and you have a lot of work to do. Here, my answer could be, okay, execution is the first thing, and the second is say no to a lot of things. Probably as when you start, you could start thinking, oh, we can create that, we can create that, we can create that, but probably you just need to focus in one thing and try to solve. Let's talk about, for example, about Apple. How many printers produce and sell Apple? The phone companies? No one.
No one.
Why Apple doesn't produce printers? Because they have too much money that they can create whatever they want. But think about this. They just focus on 3 or 4 products, no more. And that is one of very relevant things, that as we as an entrepreneur, we need to focus on 1 or 2 or 3 services, and that's it. And if we are the successful in that 1 or 2 or 3 service, we could make an amazing things. And if you just try to imagine that the successful companies, they don't have a big portfolio of products or service. They just have a small number of things, and they focus on this. And for example, this Apple for me is an amazing example that they just can create whatever they want. No, they just create 5, 3 or 4 services.
For sure, sir. I think you bring a very, very valid point, and it would be really educating for the viewers to know that whenever you're good at something, don't do it for free, but make sure that whatever you do it perfectly.
Yeah, that's I agree.
Yeah. So as we were talking about how you were saying that you said multiple times throughout our conversation that not a lot of people have a lot of money, and money obviously is one of the most central points to legal entrepreneurship in its essence anyway. So, sir, now seeing the stature, the positions you have in the domain of legal entrepreneurship after 2 successful companies, you must have considered and have encountered many startup companies, many individuals who would have wanted mentorship or angel investment or venture capitalism. Do you like, what are your opinions about it? Do you like indulging in it personally, on a very personal note? And B, sir, what are the qualities that you look in a person if you were to make such an investment? Because at the end of the day, it's not only an investment in the company, but more so an investment in the person himself.
Yeah, we as or the network that I participate as an investors, because when you have a network or an ecosystem of entrepreneurs, after all comes the investment in the next companies. And here, for example, I'm based in Barcelona, and there is an amazing startup ecosystem with an amazing companies that come from here. And we always receive like people saying, okay, Martí, I am looking in this investment, I am looking in this investment, but we are not talking about big amounts of money. I invest in a seed round. A seed round means like at the beginning, when there is something already created, that is very relevant. When there is something already created and you have sell something, not when you have a PowerPoint. No, under my point of view, and what I have seen is, if you are in the first company, if you are creating your first startup, first of all, you need to prove that you are like starting moving. You cannot say, I'm going to do that. Okay, start doing it, and once that you have created it, come back and explain that to me. And probably what I would say, oh, that's very interesting. How many customers or clients do you have? And if you say, oh, each month I have 50% more, I would say, wow, I'm very interested on this. But if you say, no, nobody is asking for this, say, okay, now you need to prove to me that the market, that the people wants that product or service. That is what is normal and what is real. I get my first professional investor after one conference that I was invited, and I say, yes, I have more than 100,000 customers in my company. No visits, customers. And the investor they say, wow, what's that? And that's real. And after that, say, okay, Marti, I want to have a dinner with you. Say, okay, yeah, great.
Yeah, sure.
Let's have a dinner. And we make the deal after probably 4 or 5 months, because first we need to know, for example, each other. That is very relevant. The confidence and the trust in the persons. Under my point of view, it's very relevant. It's very relevant because the ecosystem of the entrepreneur is very small, and each one is knowing each one. And if you if you're a bad person and you don't say what it's the true and you are lying, it's very easy to find you very quick. That's very easy. That's my approach. And what I would say is that some of the biggest entrepreneurs or some of the biggest businessmen that we could know, they are self-made men that they just started being very small, very small, just generated organic revenue without investors. And when you want to make a jump, when you have to say, okay, I now want to move to another city, I want to move to another country, I want to just generate a new kind of business, but you have a basic, probably could be interesting to ask to reach an investor. But at the beginning, what is common is friends and family. The friends and family are the people who trust you. And probably if you ask money to your friends and family, you need to take care because it's their money. And if you fail, there is a big responsibility. And I did that. I asked for money from my friends and family, and I have an amazing work to do because I don't want to fail. Because if you fail, you lose the money from your friends and your family, and that is a big responsibility.
Wow, sir, I cannot imagine the added pressure because of the fiduciary responsibilities that one accrues throughout the process. And like I think you really emphasize on the point that I've learned from Shark Tank after 10 seasons. The numbers don't lie, and let the numbers speak. Yes, sir. So so like moving on. Moving on, sir. We have already talked about how legal education, technological education, keeping up with the times is so important, especially in these times. And there's so competitiveness. There's this globalized era where the borders are slowly diminishing. But still, in spite of all these fundings, in spite of making sure that your business and your ideas are in line, we still see that some legal tech startups cannot just take off. They just fail. What is the biggest reason for that? What do you think is something that hinders their flight to success?
I would say that probably there are 2 or 3 reasons. The first one is they just create something that the people they don't need. That is probably the first thing. If you create something and let's imagine that you give for free and the people is not using it, wow, there is a big problem because the people, they don't need that. And a lot of times that we as entrepreneurs say, wow, I'm going to create that, that will be amazing. And after all, nobody wants it. Then the first thing is just try to see if the market really wants it. And here I will recommend a book that is by Eric Ries, that is the Lean Startup, that it could be very interesting just to start reading, to try to see if your product is making traction or not. That's the first thing. But here comes to the second element that probably is one of the most relevant. That is execution again. What does it mean? That if you don't have checked correctly what the market wants, there is a problem of execution. And what is normally is you create something and you see if there is a market fit. What does it mean? That means that, okay, I have an idea. I can create the product or service. That is very complicated. An idea is very easy. What is complicated is try to do the idea of the service. Okay, let's imagine that we have done that. Once that we have done that, we need to try to, okay, and that is the first step that a lot of people fail. Okay, they have an idea, but they cannot create it. Okay, the second thing is, okay, now I have the product or the service, and I need to find the market fit. What does it mean? That means if there is someone or a group of who buy or use your product or service. because we can create the product or service, but there is no market fit. Okay, let's imagine that we have found the market fit. Okay, perfect. We have created the market fit. And under my point of view and under my recommendation, your product or service must be sold by themselves, by itself. If you need the commercial people calling, whatever, I don't like it. Okay, because nowadays, the people, we just buy it online and we just contract it online. That's it. Nobody have called you to install an app. Nobody have called you to use Gmail. Nobody have called you to use TikTok or whatever. We just use it. Then imagine that you create a product or service that the people can just go there and contract by themselves. That is the next big jump, because a lot of people are, okay, we want to have a big commercial team. Okay, wow, that's cost. Remember at the beginning of the interview, they say one of the first things is that you must understand the cost and the revenue. Then if you need to buy to sell your product, that its cost is another cost. And then that's another price. And you need to fix the price bigger, because you need people that you need to pay to sell your product or service. Then if you don't need that, that is going to be better. And then we have the idea, we have created, we have the product fit. Then we must have profit. If we don't have profit, there is a problem, because at some points we will die. Okay, great. We have profit. Okay, we have profit. And after this, there is enough profit or not? Okay, let's imagine that there is enough profit, that we can pay the employees, we feel comfortable receiving a salary, because we as an entrepreneur, we need to eat, we need to pay the rent, to pay whatever. That is very interesting, that we entrepreneurs, we eat, we don't just live by the air. And that's probably the three steps. And the people, sometimes they make a big mistake and don't understand where, and they think that they are like, we are going to make an IPO and a public offering. No, you just have an idea. You don't have any product, you don't have market fit, you don't have revenue, you don't have, no. Then, first of all, understanding which phase, in which step of the long road of the entrepreneur you are. And in each step, there are some problems, and don't think to the next one once and you have passed the previous. That is very, very relevant.
Agreed, sir. I think, you make amazing points, obviously, and like, I want our audience to take note of this, especially know your market, know your business. We might think that we know our business, but in reality, we need to step down from that glass castle, that, sky castles that we have built, and make sure that we are in line with the grounded realities. Very well said, sir. Sir, so as we are nearing the end of the conversation, even though I don't want to, what are your expectations? And we've talked about this, but what are your expectations from the legal entrepreneurship field in the next decade, especially? I know that we are in the 20s already. No flying cars in 20s, disappointing, but a lot to look forward in the next decade. And what are your expectations from the legal field, especially considering how the pandemic has, changed how the businesses used to run? We have seen a rise in tertiary education. We have seen a lot of, like, I personally have used a lot of these tertiary education resources like Coursera, etc. Chaitanya has done your course on Coursera, and that speaks a lot to how prioritization is also taking place in the minds of legal students in legal domain as an entirety. So, what do you think would be the biggest change in pertaining to legal tech or just legal industry in general in the next decade?
Yeah, I think the first thing is any one of you that you are watching this interview, you must understand that you can do whatever you want in your life. That's very relevant. And sometimes we have some limitation, but we create this limitation. Like, okay, I'm not in the correct family, I don't have contacts, I don't have network, but I want to point you that I come from a very poor family. And if you just work, you learn, you are curious, and you make the decision that the road is your destination. Know the destination. The road is your destination. And each day you try to learn something, you improve. You are very criticism with your mistakes, because we make mistakes, and we are not perfect as a human beings, and that's very relevant. And you understand that the humility and try to just work hard and to provide service and learn and move on. You can do whatever you want. That's very relevant. And I want to point to the people who want to be an entrepreneur in the legal tech, that you can create whatever you want, but you must to understand if the public wants it. Probably the public wants the solution, and if you create correctly, that will be a very, very interesting company. But if you don't correct the product or the service in the way that the public wants it, that it's simple, it's very easy, no complicated, and cheap, you can succeed. But if you don't do it in this way, you cannot succeed. Then you're gonna have problems, because being an entrepreneur, it's a hard work. It's a very hard work, and you take your problems to the bed and to the pillow, and you bring your problems with you. And but that's the game. That's the game. If you understand that it's a game, and you enjoy it, do the road, and you will be very successful. And I encourage you to fight for whatever you want, and don't take your own limits, that sometimes we create our own limits that limitate you, and just try to do it. And how? Because probably, okay, Marti, I don't know how to do this. As you mentioned, there are a lot of courses online. You can learn whatever online. And
sure,
then you must decide where to start, but there is a mistake or a problem that I have seen, that people that I say that they are like information addicts or information alcoholics, that they only just watch courses, read. Okay, try to execute, try to implement it, because that's hard. That's hard, and that's my recommendation. That okay, learn a lot, because you can learn a lot, but that probably is going to be the 10 or 20% of the time of the day. Then the next part is execution. And create whatever you want, and move and improve. That's my recommendation. And what we will see is like probably an amazing entrepreneurs coming from the legal ecosystem, and an amazing companies coming from people outside the legal sector. We're gonna see that, and sometimes we're gonna feel uncomfortable, like as a lawyer. Okay, wow, some people from outside our ecosystem, that they are taking part of or cake or whatever, but that's gonna happen. That's gonna happen.
Yeah, sir. Thank you for that, sir. That was a really, really nice insight into how we can expect the intersection of law and technology to look like in the near future. So, dear audience, I think we've gotten a lot to take away from today's conversation. I think just to sum it up, we have known about never to put your business and your numbers in a vacuum. If you don't know how to read those balance sheets, go get up and read them, because it's your business, your money, your idea, your dream at the end of it. Be passionate about what you do. Be grounded, know solutions, know your limitations, but also find solutions to those limitations. Never let it stop you. And I think what Sir mentioned, and he emphasized a lot on too, and I think something that I'm going to inculcate in my life from now on, and I'm just trying to make more conscious efforts, is just try to educate yourself. Don't just be those information addicts that Sir rightly pointed out. When you're doing that certificate course on Coursera, try to do the peer-reviewed assignments, try to educate yourself, try to get perspectives. Just learn, and just be very honest and very passionate about what you learn. And I think, but the most important lesson that I personally felt very motivated and inspired by Sir is never lose hope. You can be at the 2-year end, it might seem like the end of the tunnel when you say that I'm not getting any new customers, and someday, if you have this belief, if you have this passion about your idea, then everything just seems right. It doesn't matter where you come from. It just matters what you want to do. On that note, Sir, I'm on a personal note, it was really, really nice to talk to you. It was such a pleasure talking to you. And it was a really inspiring and enriching conversation. So many multifacets, so many multi-layers that we have come to know, so many tips and tricks, so many ideas that we have come to gather today. I thank you on behalf of Lexavant to take out your precious time today to enlighten us about this somewhat uncharted domain. But again, on a personal note, thank you very, very much, sir. And I hope you have an amazing day ahead.
Thank you very much.
Chaitanya.
Okay, thank you very much. It was a pleasure, and bye from Barcelona. Thank you for inviting me. It was like a very interesting interview, and anyone want to contact me, I'm on LinkedIn or whatever can